Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week on the Cyclekart I want to try and get the front nose cone roughly fitted to the cart. See you in a minute. Now, we finished the nose cone a couple of weeks ago. There's still a lot of work to do on it before it gets used, and indeed that one may well not get used. This is just an exercise really, I think, this week in getting it mocked up, getting it roughly cut out to shape, seeing how it will fit onto the chassis, where I need to put mountings, things like that. I think there'll be a few things I've got to alter on the chassis to make it work anyway. But now I've got the actual thing itself to play with, it gives me an idea of what I need to do and what I can cut, where I can mount brackets, how we mount it to bulkheads, things like that. So let's make a start and roughly mark the thing out and get some rough cuts made so that it's within half an inch or so of where I need it to be on the cart. Right, now I've had a chance to have a look at this. It's not quite as bad as I thought it was. There are some quite bad things wrong with it, but it will serve its purpose. I think it's probably easy to see if you just get it. Now I've rubbed it down a little bit with fairly fine sandpaper. It's fairly obvious that you can see when you get polish on it, it's actually, the surface is quite good. Clearly I haven't put enough gel coat on. You can see there are areas there coming through where it's the resin coming through, and indeed you can see the coarse cloth. Now that was dictated by the fact that I was running out of the thin cloth and I didn't have enough, so I think we can sort that one next time. I will do 2 gel coats. I was probably too eager to do that. And there's a patch here where you can see the cloth quite clearly in the thing, and I think that's the area where I'd got it stuck to the gel coat and lifted it and pushed it back down again. So they're all sort of things that I expect. I'm having the greatest difficulty in actually getting the release coat off, and I need to do a bit more research on how to get that off, because although sanding is removing it, it's quite hard work, but it doesn't come off easily. There isn't anything I've got locally that's a solvent for it that I can find anyway. But other than that, it's pretty good. This would do me if I was really stuck. Now when it's rubbed down, the joint isn't as bad as it looked to start with. A lot of that is wax and PVA that got into the crack, so that's not bad. A little bit of filling would be needed, but as I say, I could quite happily use this. If this was the only nose cone I'd got, I would be more than happy with it. I'm just going to get it roughly tidied up, and then I'm going to cut out next. I've marked up the line of the chassis rails, which will run to there. Take that section out, and then I'm going to use a hole drill when I've established the right height to drill 2 circular holes either side there, and then I can cut out the patch that goes over the front axle. But if I can get it sitting on the chassis and over the front axle, it means I can then move into sorting out the front bulkhead, doing a cut on there to sort that, and getting some internal reinforcement so that will sit properly there. So I think that's the next thing. We'll just finish tidying this up a bit, and then we'll make a start and cut out the chassis rails. Okay, so the early signs are quite good. Things seem to be about right in terms of height and position, where the bulkhead would be in relation to the actual nose cone. Profiles look to be about right. There's a bit of sanding still got to be done on this anyway. I'm slightly wide, or wider than I wanted to be, I think, on this. I've got to just take a little bit more out in height, just to lift the body line up a little bit. Just going to mark some of that up in pencil and pen. But on the whole, that's, you know, almost there on the first fitting, if you like. It covers up the spring perch without any fuss. Goes over that and cloaks that well enough. I think what I need to just do is establish. I might need to take these aluminium plates slightly narrower as well, so that they'll take the body line better. And I'm just going to mark those two heights on the inside so that I can get a recut now on that to go up to frame rail, and we'll move on from there. And once I've got that done, I can establish where the height is of the axle in relation to these side bits and mark those out. That's better. Okay. And that's nearly sitting where I want it now in terms of width. It does need to just trim this aluminium a bit, but we'll not worry about that at the moment. So the next thing I need to do is establish the height of the front axle in relation to the chassis rails, I think. And indeed the position of the springs and the axle. So they should come in okay there. Yep, they should fit in fine in that area I've cut out. So we just need to get the height. So that's sitting about 70mm above. So if I drill my holes with the top 70mm above the frame rail I've got there, we should be somewhere in the right ballpark, I think. Interesting, I can't actually get it to fit now. Oh, I can. Yeah, it's looking fine. We're well on the way with that now, to getting it sorted. I think I'll take this top plate off next and just take the sides off it, just to allow the bodywork to sit on the frame rails in the way it's been designed to do, because this was an afterthought. They need to actually sit in there somewhere. Yeah, that's got the line back properly now, so I can just make something that will fit that and then cut the main plate down and we'll be away. Now, with the piece I've cut out from the bottom of the cowl, I'm just going to make a little closure piece up that will fit against the front of the chassis rails down there. This is only a temporary thing, but I'm just going to cut out so it'll fit round the spring and hopefully tidy that front end up a bit. I've still got to think about what I'm doing with regards to dummy shock absorbers, so this may all change, but at the moment I'm just going to see if I can get that to fit in there, and probably just tap those two holes and put a 6mm bolt through, and that'll just fix it and tidy up that front end. Yeah, it should fit in there about like that, and tidy the joint up a bit anyway. Still a lot of work to do on it, and still very early days, but I think that will tidy the front a bit. Just marking out to take off the pieces I need to take off of the front plates, so we can get the nose cone to fit. Just do that on the jigsaw, bandsaw. Allows me to fit the nose cone properly now. Still a lot of trimming to do, and I need to drop it a bit and make that hole slightly higher up, because at the moment we're at the top of the suspension travel, so the axle can't go up even if it wanted to. But at least now we've relieved that in a bit, so the thing can sit there properly. Now I need to stiffen the nose cone up a bit so it can attach to the bulkhead at the front of the car. The former that I made is pretty much what I need for shape. It should be, because the back plate for the buck was made off this but apart from the thickness of the glass fibre, which has made it stick out slightly at the bottom, that is pretty much what I want. And what that will do is straighten the sides out. It'll get it rigid, stop it twisting and messing around. At the moment it's very flexible. So I'm going to use this as a template on some dye bond. I'm not sure yet whether I'll cut the middle out or not. I don't know whether I need to, but I'm going to cut the first basic shape out, and then having done that we can bond it into the glass fibre nose and go on from there. So I'm not sure yet whether I'll need to get in to get any fixings or not, bearing in mind that there's a huge grille going to be opening at the front of the nose cone. I can probably do any fixings and that I need from through that hole. We'll just cut that out now. I'll probably use the bandsaw to cut that out, and then we can get it bonded into the nose. Now I need to cut the cowl hole out, so I've got the rough shape off the drawing. It's not going to be 100% accurate because this is a plan, an elevation view I mean, and the thing is sloping, so in theory it'll be longer from top to bottom when it's on the slope than it is when you look at it square on, but it'll give me a starting point. I've just traced it onto a bit of tracing paper. If I cut that out now, I'll probably only cut half of it out, then fold it in half to get it fully symmetrical about what I think is the centre line axis, and then I can tape it onto the nose cone, mark it up and get it roughly cut out, and if it's looking too silly we can work on it from there, but if anything it'll be too small. But at least it's a starting point. See how that looks on the cowl, and it's fairly obvious that that is not going to work because it's a floppy, so I can't really see quite how that's going to work like that. What I'm going to do now, plan B will be now to put that onto dye bond, which is quite a rigid material, and that should give me a frame that will drop over. I could use plywood, but I've got loads of this dye bond stuff. Looks like that's probably the best way to use it. So that's roughly the shape we want, and all I need to do now is establish the angle of the line and the starting point really on that, which I can do from the side elevation, and probably just run around it with a spray can just to get a rough idea of the line. It's not perfect, but it's given me a pretty good idea. It's just a matter of establishing that starting point at the top. Right, Chinograph pencil seems to be the answer for that. That's got me the grill opening, I believe. So we'll get the multi-tool out and see if we can cut the hole out. Okay, that's got me the hole cut out roughly. Gives me a starting point. It does unfortunately mean that the whole thing is slightly less rigid, but it's not too bad. I need to think about how I brace all this up now and fix it, but at least now we've got the opening. And I've also got myself a former to fold the grill material over and bend that to shape, because the grill actually comes in slightly behind that, like that. So that should work okay, and we can pop that on the front and see roughly how it looks, and tidy up all this edge around it now and get that neatened up so that it's uniform and tidied up for paint. It'll no doubt need a fair bit of filling and smoothing to get it right. I suspect the whole thing is actually in one plane and it's slightly out there, it's slightly forward, but what I might do is get a big lump of sandpaper, drop it down on the bench, and that will enable me to true all that up and get it to the right shape exactly then. Right, so there I am after virtually a full day's work of fanning around. I'm happy with that now. I've got the plate that screws on that covers everything up. I've got the shroud bottom part of the cowl bolted up right through from the bottom with a big washer on the bottom and a nut on the top. I need to do a little bit of work just to get that tidied up so that it's the same as the one on the other side. But they now sit on there nicely. I've adjusted the size of the cowl down here so that it matches with the bottom. It needed a little bit of sanding off, but it means now that I can drop the cowl on and it's almost as, as seamless, or as seamless as you would get on anything between the top and the bottom of the cowl. As I say, most of this may well get hidden by artificial radiators and all sorts, but at least I know it's there and I know it's to my liking. Right, well, that's got the nose cone rough fitted as far as I can get with it this week. Hopefully in a week or two's time we'll get it finally fettled and firmly installed. Hope the video was of interest, and look forward to seeing you next week when we'll be doing something different on the Cyclekart. See you then. Bye.